This has been one heck of an adventure. If somebody happens to find this footage, if something happens to me, I definitely feel way out here. Good morning, everybody. It's about 7 a.m. Mountain Time. Already got my camp packed up. Had coffee earlier and watched as the dawn broke. Basically, woke up about 5:30 or 5:45 and was just ready to get up. And so I came out here to see if I could catch some stars. Last night, right before I went to sleep, I came out and it was just one of the most amazing night skies I've ever seen. The moon hadn't quite come up yet, and there's a billion stars in the sky. See the galaxy cloud going across the sky, and it was just a really great end to the day. Yesterday was one of the best days I've ever had in the Guads. Just a really great day overall. Everything, food, hiking, the trails we were on, everything just turned out really, really great. So hopefully today's more of the same. And actually really enjoyed staying here at Marcus. This is way out of the way campsite, and it's really nice to be out here. Headed up about 2,000 feet today, up toward Blue Ridge and Bush Mountain, and we're going to stay at Bush Mountain campsite tonight. And hopefully it's going to be a great day. Some early morning views from the Marcus campsites. Good, peaceful, cool, not very windy morning. All right, so it's about 8:15, and we just left campsites. And there's not much of a trail over here. Like I was saying yesterday, this is probably the top 1 or 2 least traveled sections of trail in the park. This has been a really pretty area so far this morning, and the trail hasn't been very well defined. I'm hoping as we start climbing it starts to show up a little more. The cairns have definitely helped, although they're really far apart. You just really got to be paying attention to where you're going. We do have a GPS, but we haven't pulled it out and checked it. We'll say if you get into a wash, go to cross a wash. We haven't walked up a wash hardly at all. It's almost directly across, or just slightly angled from where you enter the wash. Pretty large burn section. If I remember correctly, this fire that happened a few years ago that they let burn across the park, I believe it entered the park or started on this northwest side. I've already hiked through part of it, but it's a pretty big burn section. Yeah, this burn section's bigger than what I originally thought. I was way back past all that stuff earlier. And then still hiking through it over here. So this, as far as what I've come across, is the biggest burn section of the park. And it's not terrible because, like I said, it happened several years ago, so things are starting to grow back, but pretty solid burn. I was afraid whenever I was reading the news they were letting the park burn that it's going to end up something like this all the way across the park, but they did a really good job managing the fire. And so I remember there being an old cabin over here on the Bush Mountain Trail, which I read burnt up in the fire, and I'm not exactly sure that this is where it was at because the area looks so much different, but there's a lot of old cans and sheet metal right in through here, so this very well could have been where that cabin was at. I'll know here in just a few minutes because I remember it was just short of the Cox tank that was back here. Here's a whole bunch of metal. It was a log cabin, but it had a metal roof. I remember that. All this stuff has definitely been burnt up. quite a bit back in there. And if I think about it, when I go to edit this video, I will try to put in a shot of what the cabin looked like prior to the fire. So I just made it up to Cox Tank. That is C-O-X, Cox. And I've never seen any water in there or pictures with water in there, but you can tell when they get quite a bit of rain, this canyon will drain down into there and fill up. And this whole drainage is way greener than the rest of this part of the park. So it, not that it ever probably has a lot of flowing water, but it gets some water down there and stays wet more often than the surrounding area. Anyway, I'm very certain that all that metal back there was from the burnt cabin. So that was kind of cool because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to find that or not. This is a real cool area. It would be really neat to see it when it's all greened up. Man, this is such a pretty area back here in this part of the park. That's Blue Ridge, the big mountain up in front of us. And we'll be coming up the right side of that here in a few more miles. Man, as far as navigating, this is a really tricky section. Coming around this really beautiful meadow over here. But there's basically no trail really between Cox Tank and here. And there are quite a few cairns, but most of them are so old that the grass has grown over top of them. You can't see them till right when you get on top of them. You definitely got to be vigilant walking through here, or use some sort of GPS. Well, we just come up quite a ways. Chuco's actually still making his way up the side of the mountain, but I made it up to the saddle. I'm waiting on him here. Straight out in the shot, see if I can point to it. Right in there, that's Cox Tank that we were at a little earlier. And we've been making our way up over here to the left. I definitely want to say a big thank you to the Park Service or volunteers or whoever put up the cairns. Not that they're great, and not that you can see a ton of them till right when you're on them, but man, they have been real helpful. Without them, there's basically no trail in part of the section of trail we're on. So that's Blue Ridge, and it doesn't look near as far now, which is nice. But I just pushed up to this saddle because I knew what this view was going to be, and I apologize that it's super hazy, but there are the salt flats out west of the Guadalupe Mountains, and might be kind of hard to make out. Somewhere right up in that area right there, you can see one of the circular crop fields from Del City, and Del City's out there somewhere. I think it's a little farther over to the left. You can't really make it out through all the haze. And for those of you that don't know, I'm saying Del City. That's just the name of it. It's not a city at all. It's a very small rural town out here in West Texas. And it's way out by itself. Anyway, go ahead and give you the end of the 360 all the way around. You can see Chuco there in the center of the shot making his way up here. Beautiful morning. This has been a great hike so far. Now that I've climbed up a little ways more, starting to be able to see a whole bunch of fields out there by Del City. You can see a whole bunch of the circular crop fields just past those salt flats. And then Del City, I believe, is just on the other side of those crop fields. Really not sure what they grow out there. I know they got to use a lot of water. So I got my camera zoomed in, and Chuco is right about in the very center of the shot, right on the edge of that ridge. And I'm quite a ways ahead of him, so I'm gonna wait here and let him catch up a little ways. I've come all the way here, all the way up to here. You get a little better view. Salt flats out there. That right there in the very center of the shot, I believe, is the Gypsum sand dunes. That's a part of the national park that you can only access from driving out to Del City. And making my way up the mountain pretty good. Just about to the crest. I believe that back there in the back, in the center of the shot, is Bush Mountain. And if I'm wrong, it's just on the other side of that. Because there is one peak in between here and there. And I believe our trail is going to crest out right there in that saddle. So really not too much farther. And then we're going to take the Blue Ridge Trail for about a quarter mile and just hit this Blue Ridge North Peak right there. And that is one of the 10 highest peaks in Texas. So I don't think there's any spectacular views or anything from there, but just hitting it to say we have. Just came over the trail crest and it immediately turns back into forest. And almost immediately, probably 100 yards after making the crest, you run into the junction with the Blue Ridge Trail. So the Blue Ridge Trail is this way right here. And that peak right there is the one we're gonna hit real quick, and then we'll be coming back this way and heading south. We dropped our bags back there at the junction with the Blue Ridge Trail, and we're doing a quarter mile up here, up the Blue Ridge to the summit real quick. And we're gonna run back down and get our bags and head the other direction. Got a bit of burn up here. And I've seen a couple videos and read a couple trip reports where people have had a really hard time finding their way on this Blue Ridge Trail. So far it's better than that section of the Bush Mountain Trail was for sure. Really not too bad. Just got to a bunch of old rolled up barbed wire and fencing, and this is where we're going to cut off trail and head up. But it's just absolutely unreal views right here, looking back into the Guads. That's so awesome. Well, we're up on Blue Ridge Peak, the North Peak, and I don't see any sort of summit marker or anything, but I look up the list of highest mountains in Texas. This is on there. Not sure the exact elevation. I'll put it on the screen somewhere, I'm sure. Anyway, I saw my buddy Zach do this, Zachary Teach, on YouTube, and he came up here and hit this peak, so added it to my list. There are definitely not really any views from the actual summit because there are quite a few trees up here, but pretty cool to have made our way up here anyway. So I think I've mentioned this in a previous video at some point, but I like to think of Blue Ridge as like this big massive wall that separates the two sides of the park, north and south. So we just came over that whenever we came back up into the mountains from the Dog Canyon side. That'd be to the north, and it's a totally different environment on the other side of Blue Ridge to the north. And then here on the south side you get what most people see of the park, and that's the big forests, big huge mountains. And both sides are awesome in their own ways. Most people are gonna see the south side of the park, and I don't know, this trip has been awesome so far. Spent a lot of time on the north side where most people don't go, and absolutely loved it. Had a great time over there. But now we're headed south back into the forests. So that huge mountain right there is Bush Mountain. It's the second highest mountain in Texas, and that's our next push after this. But just dropped our packs again, and we're right off of the Bush Mountain Trail, and we're gonna head up about the same distance off trail as what we just did and hit this peak, which I believe is Blue Ridge Peak. And eventually I'll put the elevation and what it ranks as far as highest peaks in Texas. So here we go off trail. I think we are about at the highest point here. I don't see anywhere where we are any lower than. So this is what I believe is Blue Ridge Peak. It's been pretty fun coming without packs up to these 2 points. This one was quite a bit thicker than the last one, so it wouldn't have been fun carrying a pack over here. This is pretty amazing. This is just off of the Bush Mountain Trail, maybe 50 feet right over to the western edge. Some really dramatic foothills down there. So we talked about it after we came down from the last peak that I'm gonna run up here and tag this, I think it's an unnamed peak right before Bush Mountain, just to the north of Bush Mountain. And Chuco's gonna stay down and have a snack and rest up. This one's real close to the trail. Same distance as the last two I've been up, maybe a quarter mile off. Woo! That is a long way straight down there. That is Bush Mountain right behind me. I am at point 8427, just to the north of Bush Mountain. And some crazy awesome views off here. I'm glad I came up here and hit this peak real quick. Just another one of the small peaks in the string of peaks leading up to Bush Mountain. I can see the very tippy top of the radio antenna repeater station. It's somewhere right in there, just barely sticking out of the trees up on Bush Mountain. Look down the western face. That is straight down. Super awesome. Well, the sign's missing, but from what I understand, this is a radio repeater tower that's up on top of Bush Mountain. It's not quite at the summit, but it's really close. The summit of Bush is just right over there. There is the summit marker. It says 8626. I think my map says 8631. And you can see we're just a few feet from the edge of the western face of the Guadalupe Mountains. And we are on the second highest mountain in Texas right now, making our way right to the western edge of the Guadalupe Mountains. And it is quite the sight from here. This is absolutely awesome. You can see all the fields of Del City far out there on the horizon. Ton of salt flats. Those three mountains over there, that's Bartlett there on the right, Shumard in the middle, and Guadalupe Peak is the far one on the left. Right now we're standing higher than anyone else in the state besides the probably 50 people up on Guadalupe Peak, but we got Bush Mountain all to ourselves. High point of the trip. So what do you think about the hike up here to Bush Mountain?
Trail's overgrown, needs some maintenance, but it adds to the adventure of it all. Some steep climbs. I thought for some reason Bear Canyon would be the hard one, but this was the hard one for me today.
It's tough.
But it was worth it. Beautiful. Got snot coming out of my nose.
Well, we're gonna eat lunch up here at Bush Mountain. I'm gonna have pepperoni, cheese, and crackers, a little bit of trail mix, and we definitely earned this lunch. Been pushing quite a ways. That's the western edge right over there. We're dropping down off Bush Mountain right now, headed to the campsites. I think we go down something like 300 feet in elevation, and Bush Mountain campground campsites are on that ridge over to the left. Just turned off towards our campsites. This is the little side trail heading into them. So these Bush Mountain campsites they're in really bad shape. This is the worst shape of any sites that we came to on this trip for sure. There's only one decent site. I told Chuco to go ahead and take that one because I probably got the better site last night. And you can just see how badly overgrown everything is. It's in terrible shape. Only thing cool about Bush Mountain campsites is you're so close to the western edge. You get cell phone reception, things like that, but this is a bad spot. All right, so I just set up camp. That's my Serenity net tent back there behind me. I'm not going to set up my Gatewood Cape tonight because I'm looking to break down camp quick in the morning, and it's not going to rain tonight as far as I know. I guess I'll throw it up real quick if it does start raining. But I'm going to leave my food bag that's oh, there it is, back over there. I'm going to see if Chuco will watch it for me. He's going to stay here at camp, and I'm going to head over to do a little side project. And anyway, so still got several hours of daylight left. Looking pretty good on that. Took a couple liters of water in my bag, leaving everything here. So I stripped down as much stuff out of my backpack as I can, and I'm gonna head out. So now I'm headed toward Pine Top, like I was saying, and I'm going to look for the B24 Liberator Crashsite, which is I'll just go ahead and put this out there. I'm not gonna give away the exact location because I don't think the park wants that for some reason, which I don't really care, but trying to keep up with their wishes. Anyway, so I'll give you a few hints. I'm hiking between Bush Mountain campsites and Pine Top. And anyway, if you want the exact location, you'll find it online. And hopefully I'm going to stop in there, check out some of the wreckage, and I'll make a longer video that just has to do with that crash site. Give a little more detail about it. There's Hunter Peak, kind of where we started this trip. Just came into view. All right, so this is about where I'm going to get off trail. Jumping off the Bush Mountain Trail. I'm going to head down quite a ways off trail, looking for this B24 Liberator Crashsite. I will say that I have our entire route on all trails, and that's what I planned this trip with, and we haven't needed it for any of our on-trail hiking. We've been able to find our way just using cairns, even though the trails have been extremely overgrown. So we were specifically trying not to use any sort of GPS, but for the off-trail sections, this really helps out, especially for making sure I get back to the same part of the trail that I left from. So I just dropped into this wash, and so far this has been the best thing that's happened on this side trip. Really deep leaves and pine cones, but this is way easier going so far than up on the ridge. Well, I believe my time here in the wash has come to an end. I think I need to head straight up the side of this mountain, which is incredibly steep and really thick. Hopefully I find what I'm looking for up there. If not, this has been one heck of an adventure. If somebody happens to find this footage, if something happens to me, I definitely feel way out here. This is it's a really cool experience. All right, so I made it from our very first piece, not too far out of the wash, and I can see quite a bit up ahead of me, up the hill. This is going to be one super steep climb, really tough. Sorry, I can't really tell you what any of these parts are. I don't know anything about this stuff. But I do know this is from a B24 Liberator that flew out of El Paso on New Year's Eve, 1943. Last contact was about 11:30 p.m. on New Year's Eve, and first missed contact was, I believe, like somewhere around 1 a.m. on New Year's Day. This almost seems like an impossible spot for the crash because we are booked in on every single side by high mountain cliffs. There's no direct line of sight to outside of the mountains, but unfortunately for these guys, they I think there are 5 crew members, and this is their final resting place. From what I understand, most of the plane is here, and it is just shredded as it came through the trees. And this debris field, from what I understand, is close to a couple hundred yards long. I just came up really steep incline. I mean, this stuff is just scattered everywhere. This still has some of the old wiring in there. You see a lot bigger cable right there. A lot of this stuff is buried. Another propeller. These propellers have been really scattered out. So I've seen another video. There's a great video of this crash site with a guy that knows a lot more about this than me. So I'll listen to him describe a little bit of it. But I think that right there is a piece of armor plating. This is the biggest section of debris that I've come to. Not just right here, but let me zoom in. All that down there is debris. There's a really big section over there. When I say it's everywhere, I am not exaggerating. I can't take more than 3 steps without finding some sort of piece to this plane. This is the first fairly clear spot I've had, just up above all the wreckage. I don't know if that was the end of it or not, but that was certainly super cool. Definitely worth the trip. I'll show you. This is what I'm making my way up through right now. It is really thick. On somebody's survival whistle down here. That is the first, I know it's not litter, but that's the first any kind of trash or anything I've seen at the park the whole time we've been hiking. Stop to catch my breath for a minute. So I just made it back to the Bush Mountain Trail. I made it to the top of that little peak right there. So I've come down 100 or 200 yards. And happy to be back on trail. That was super tough. Really rewarding. I'm glad I did it. Probably be one and done with that one. It was neat to see. Well, I made it back to camp. And that was a tough hike. My feet are feeling pretty worn. Of course, some like minimalist, super minimalist trail runners, probably not the best choice of footwear for some big off trail like that. I'm gonna chill for a few minutes and then make dinner. I'm having the same thing I had last night, the roasted garlic couscous with chicken. That was super good, so I'm happy to be having that again. I have 2 3/4 liters of water left, and I plan on drinking at least 1 to 1 1/4 tonight, and then save the rest of it for in the morning. Sun's already going down out there right on the horizon. Really pretty colors even through the haze. This was a great last evening of the trip. This has been an absolutely awesome trip. Probably my favorite trip from out here. Definitely, if not my favorite, it's top 1 or 2. This has been such a good trip. Everything about it. Absolutely loved it. We're going to pack up quick and early in the morning and do a little night hiking on the way out of here. So we'll be able to see the sun come up as we're hiking and hopefully make it down to Pine Springs pretty early. Anyway, guys, we'll see you in the morning.